You can cue them.
Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Talking Tech. My name is Ron Haskell, I'm the Director of Communication for the Office of Information Technology, and it's my privilege to be your host again. We're here today to get an exclusive peek into the Section 508 Office's rigorous commitment to ensuring universal access for VA employees, veterans, their caregivers, and their families. They do this by delivering high quality and innovative information and communication technology, which you'll hear referred to on the show as ICT, solutions. Central to our discussion is Section 508's vision of leveraging expertise and technology throughout ICT product development and sustainment. The Office's 6 functional areas, successful partnerships, and the upcoming fiscal 2024 events. Joining us are Mr. Chet Frith, who's a U.S. Navy veteran, it's the best branch, as we all know, and Senior Advisor for Section 508 and Compliance, Ms. Merissa Larson. She's the Executive Director for VA Risk and Remediation. They will take turns highlighting how VA supports those with disabilities and the steps the 508 Office takes to provide these essential services. As always, this show is not a one-way conversation. We welcome your active engagement. Toward the close of the section, we're going to have an interactive QA. Please post your questions in the LinkedIn and YouTube comments, depending on which platform you're watching, and have a chance for your questions answered live. If you have a pressing question about Section 508 and IDEA surrounding accessibility, we have the 2 best experts in VA to answer those, so this is your chance to ask. With that introduction, I'm delighted to introduce Ms. Merissa Larson to go ahead and tell us a little bit about what she does in the 508 office, and then we'll turn it over to Chet, and he can talk about a little bit what he does. Merissa?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. I have the distinct honor and privilege of serving here in VA and OIT, where I think we have the best team working on Section 508 compliance in the entire federal government. And since assuming this program a little over a year ago, we have honestly been working tirelessly to elevate awareness about this law and about VA's 508 compliance program across the entire department to really illustrate the impact and the importance to the nation's veterans and VA's nearly 27,000 employees who have self-identified as having a disability. And really along and with partnerships across all of OIT's senior leadership team, I've been crafting the vision for the program, and along with its fiscal and staffing requirements that are really going to be necessary to set the program on the right course and to serve as the best 508 program in the entire federal government. I'm super excited about this mission and the 508 space, and really it's just critically important for us here at the VA to get this right, not only for our VA employees, but also for the veterans and the caregivers as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Merissa. Chet, let's kick it over to you.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Ron and Merissa. So I joined the 508 team about a year ago, and like most people, only heard 508 and briefs that were given. So never fully understanding the impact Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act had on the lives of so many people, including me. There are millions of veterans with disabilities who have difficulty filling out forms, finding information online, and communicating with their medical team. So Section 508 is really meant to level that playing field. It ensures assistive devices and software can be used seamlessly with applications and websites, despite a disability someone may have. So one piece of assistive technology most people are aware of is closed captioning. So those who are hearing impaired can get the same information and really have a similar user experience as those with no hearing loss. So for the last few years I was on active duty, I utilized assistive devices and technology to do my job, not realizing the entire time a Section 508 team was behind the scenes. They were making sure tools I used worked seamlessly with the computer I was issued. So I'm very passionate about the 508 world, and I'm so grateful to have leaders like Merissa that are so supportive of Section 508 and really taking care of our disabled population.
Chet. All right, so we'll go ahead and do a little interview here and talk back and forth. And I think you touched a little bit on it, Chet, but can we talk a little bit more about why Section 508 is so essential to VA and veterans? specifically the population that we serve?
Sure, I'll let Merissa.
Yeah, of course. So I think first and foremost, Section 508, this is a law. And so this is definitely a place where we want to ensure that VA holds the highest level of compliance, again, to ensure access and accessibility for all. And we really believe that 508 is everyone's responsibility. And that's kind of a theme that we definitely want to carry out for the next fiscal year and really, again, drive that visibility and awareness of our program. But I think as Chet had mentioned, it is really ensuring that someone with a disability has the same level playing field and the same access to, the services and tools that we make available to not only employees, but also the veterans that we serve here. Chet, anything else to add?
No, I'd just like to add to what you said, Merissa. We've had some veterans that have reached out to us, realizing what we do, and they're able to learn things now that they weren't able to before. For example, reading their claims letter. So having that for a blind individual, they used to have to go to someone to get that information, and now, thanks to Section 508 ensuring that everything is compliant, they're able to actually have their phone read their decision letter to them, which is a phenomenal step forward.
And I like to think too that here in 508 within OIT, we are really serving as advocates for all of the VA employees and veterans as well that need this level of accessibility. So we're here to, carry that torch to, again, raise visibility and to really push the envelope on those applications and systems that need to become compliant.
So let's dig into that a little bit more, Merissa. You talk about everyone, right? You guys have said that a couple different times. So it's not just veterans, but it's also employees. And there's a lot of work as we try to be the leaders in this area and tech in general, federal government, other federal agencies. So what sort of engagement do we do for veterans and employees and with other federal agencies?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks so much for that. And so one area that we've been really focused on this past year is really getting out of our desks, getting out of the office. And something new that we did this past fiscal year was a 508 roadshow. And so this really gave us an opportunity to get boots on the ground and to go out to many medical facilities, VA facilities, and to engage where our customers are. And so to be able to meet with the staff, to be able to, meet with veterans and to really understand and capture their concerns and their issues as it relates to accessibility was just paramount. It was paramount because it allowed us to really dive deeper into some of the 508 issues across the entire enterprise. And again, to create and cultivate relationships, that we had not had previously. And that is just really important. And then I know Chet and his team have been working hard on a lot of other avenues towards this as well. So Chet, over to you.
Sure. We utilized Teams, just like most folks in the hybrid and remote telework environment. We utilize Teams often. So we created a Teams channel, Ask the 508. So initially it was created monthly. We would get together and have folks come on, and it kind of evolved from there where it's really real time, not just our own staff within the 508 office that are getting on and answering questions and providing advice, but we realized that other disabled employees were coming in and providing their own answers and support. So it really is this huge network that's created utilizing technology to help others. So it's folks not just in the 508 office, but all throughout the VA that are helping others utilize this technology and ensure accessibility with assistive technology.
Yeah, I think one other thing I'd love to add in this space too is I think because of our actions towards creating additional awareness and diving into these federal partnerships, we have been asked to co-host an upcoming event, which is the 2023 Interagency Accessibility Forum, which is going to be hosted next month. with FDIC, GSA, Access Board, and the Federal CIO Council, which is just a really great event for 508.
Right, and I think we're going to touch on that a little bit later, Merissa. But thanks for that. I think the Interagency Accessibility Forum is really where any federal employee, anyone out there can go in and listen to, learn about 508, share ideas. But as Merissa mentioned, GSA, so section508.gov is where you can go online. It's going to be November 7th through the 9th. So it'll be next month. There's some virtual and hybrid options available. So definitely hope get as much attendance as possible there.
It's a good plug. Also, we'll plug next Thursday, right? If you're in the DC area, especially if you're a VA employee, if you're not aware, there's farmers markets out front of VACO, and you guys are going to be out there sort of doing a hands-on thing, right? You talk real quickly about that for people that might want to come down and check that out.
Yes, we are just super excited about this event. So you're right. Next Thursday, mark your calendars from 11 to 2. We will be having a booth at the farmers market, and we're going to be displaying and showcasing and sharing some of our accessible technologies. And then also one really neat event too that we're going to be doing is a white cane event. So individuals who want to participate will be able to really walk a day in the life, right? So walking in the shoes of an individual that has a disability with a blindfold and a cane to really understand, the struggles that our individuals who are blind go through from day to day. And so I think that's going to be really paramount. So again, I would encourage anyone who's available, interested, come see us. Chet and I will be there, and looking forward to getting as much participation at that event as possible.
And while Talking Tech does not endorse specific vendors, this host endorses the wood-fired pizzas out there too. So feel free to dig in there. Okay, let's dig in more into the Section 508 office. I talked at the top in the introduction how there's 6 functional areas, and those areas are set up to specifically benefit veterans. So could you guys talk about the 6 functional areas and how that sort of works within the 508 office?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So one of the first functional areas is integration. So really it's training VA employees on the responsibilities of 508 and getting out there and making sure that we are spreading the word, training them folks how to use the accessibility tools built into Microsoft and Adobe and other software programs out there that we use on a daily basis. Another one that we have, another area, is document compliance. So document compliance really ensures that all veterans out there, despite their disabilities, are able to complete fillable forms, read policies online, and everything else. Another one that we focus on is e-learning. So e-learning ensures all the VA staff are trained effectively in order to assist veterans. So as we all know, there's training galore that's out there at every company, federal organization, but we make sure that every training that's posted for our staff to take is accessible to everyone. So it doesn't matter your disability, and as Merissa had said, there are quite a few, over 27,000 employees with targeted disabilities and that are really utilizing, the 508 capabilities that we have built into these e-training or the electronic training that we have out there. Another one is mobile. So mobile applications, we make sure that those, as well as mobile sites, are accessible to veterans. As we know today, I think greater than 50% of our sites are visited through mobile devices. So as you can imagine, I think we're all guilty of being around there, hopefully not driving and doing it, but I know waiting in line at the bank or at DMV for sure, waiting in line, we're all on our mobile devices. So we're making sure that those are accessible for veterans with disabilities. We also provide subject matter expert support. So we provide developers and acquisition personnel at the VA with experts to consult with throughout the development process or the acquisition process. So we're making sure that we are purchasing accessible equipment, accessible software, and making sure that it is compliant. And lastly, we do audits. So we do audits of systems and products. So we do ensure that information and that communication technology that Ron was mentioning, that those products are accessible to veterans, and making sure that they do work seamlessly with software that's out there to support various disabilities. So just to recap, our 6 function areas were integration, document compliance, e-learning, mobile, SME support, and system product audits. So those are our 6 functional areas.
Awesome. And Chet, you mentioned veterans being able to read their claims and how we do this through mobile applications, there's webs, all sorts of things. Can you explain just quickly what that is specifically? Because I love this story. We have a specific story of veterans, like how that works, just so we can see this like in action, what this means.
No, absolutely. And I think this is one of the highlights and one of the shining stars in the VA is the VA originally, when we created an application for veterans, it was very confusing. There were dozens of applications built within one. It was hard to navigate. So the VA actually went out and talked to veterans, kind of what we're doing with our roadshow. They went out there, figured out, hey, what are you going to My Healthy Vet for? What are you going, to these applications to find? So we wrote down and really captured those key things that veterans are going online to find. And what we did is we incorporated those within the VA application. So the health and benefits application, if you're a veteran out there and you haven't downloaded it for the reason I mentioned before, go online now and check it out. You can find your claim information. You can message your medical team. You can go online and actually reorder medications. So we picked the top things that were used by veterans, and it covers 90% of what veterans are actually go online to the traditional website to gain. But it is accessible, and folks are able, if they do have a disability, if they're blind, they're able to use VoiceOver on an iPhone, for example, or they're able to utilize additional, Zoom text on a phone to make sure that they're able to utilize and read those documents. So it's really some great things that we are really looking at and ensuring that we're building these applications from the start. So and thinking of veterans at the front, instead of telling veterans what they want to see, we're actually listening to them and incorporating that into what we do at the VA.
Yeah, and I also think too, we would love to encourage any veteran to reach out to us and to our office. We want to hear from them if they're experiencing, any issues, any concerns with any of our VA applications or forms. We want to know. So please, if folks can reach out to us, we are happy to work right alongside of them to ensure that they get the access that they need.
Merissa, how would a veteran do that if they wanted to reach out and they had a form? Is it an email? We can share that too.
I can give you Chet's phone number. No, I'm just kidding.
Have at it. There's plenty of folks that do. So it's actually section 508 at va.gov. Pretty simple. So section 508 at va.gov. And we can put that in the chat and LinkedIn as well as in YouTube.
In a show wrap up for there too. Merissa, I'm a big fan of Antiques Roadshow, so I'm curious about the Section 508 Roadshow. How does that specifically assist us? Like, how do we go from the Section 508's goals, the Roadshow, and how does that apply to like better care and receiving of benefits for veterans?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for that. And so, again, really the intent last year was again to get out, boots on the ground, to interface with, both the medical facilities, the VA staff and our veterans. And while we only had an opportunity to go to, a few locations, it was very illuminating to us in terms of just the education and awareness that, the staff and the employees had. But it also allowed us to, identify some really neat best practices and just technology solutions that these individual locations throughout the VA had implemented. And, one of them that we really saw and uncovered was the VA wayfinding app. At one of the facilities. And, this is an application that can be leveraged, either through your Apple phone or your Android phone. And this app guides users throughout, selected VA medical centers. Unfortunately, it's not VA wide yet, but it really allows them, to, get instructions through their phone on the locations throughout the facilities. So if a veteran who is low vision or blind needs to access the pharmacy, or appointment locations or even parking spots, this application on their phone, will give them the directions and the steps to find those critical locations within that facility. And so currently, that app is being utilized in medical centers in Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. So again, that was just, a lesson learned, a best practice that we had uncovered. And then another example of that, of a best practice, is in another location where there were student volunteers that were shadowing, hospital personnel, and also they were providing technology services, to veterans that needed technology, help desk support. And so it was really on site, and veterans had the ability to come up to, the desk and receive, navigation, whether it was on their phone or their tablet, on their computer, and really receive like that live, in-person support that they desperately needed. So again, it allowed us to capture these best practices and then to share those best practices widely, from one medical facility to another. It also has helped us to understand the knowledge of 508 and how we can further enhance training opportunities, education opportunities, and again, just to advance the message and the commitment that VA has to 508.
Okay.
Chet, anything else to add? I know you were on a lot of those visits personally.
No, absolutely. I think there's things that we're able to hear directly from the veterans, and that's one of the benefits of going out there and uncovering some of the issues, whether it be a, difficulty filling out a form, and we would take that information back. And some of the things that we're able to do is like you said, Merissa, bring those best practices back to headquarters and share it throughout the VA, and really share those best practices. So it's not all, oh, this is bad. But again, we're able to see some great things out there that are implemented at some of these facilities, and share that with other locations, and so they can implement those best practices.
Awesome. So I want to reserve some time still for Q&A, but since we've gone out, and I think the next question is, from what we've learned in these roadshows and continue to learn, what can we expect to see going into next year out of the 508 office?
Oh my goodness, we have a lot of plans for the next fiscal year. And again, I think what is so fantastic here at the VA is, our senior leadership, starting with the CIO, is just really committed to 508 and ensuring that 508 is baked into engineering excellence. And that we are really pushing the envelope on compliance and remediation when it comes to 508, and really, being having our system, our 508 compliance, baked into a lot of processes here internally with the VA, whether it's through our, authorities to operate or our contracting, approval procedures. We want to ensure that 508 is thought of first, and that everyone is building, creating, developing with 508 in mind, so that we can really deliver the best products and services. So that's really, where our vision and our goals are for next year. And I think that we've made a lot of great strides towards this. But I think it's also going to be leaning in on, a lot of other big applications, so that we can drive further compliance. And then we also want to continue to strengthen and deepen our relationships with our federal partners across the aisle, and continue to, work alongside with them. So again, the federal government can all rise together in this space.
All right. That gets us about 6 minutes left here, so we're going to go through some Q&A. Lou, if we can go ahead in the back and queue up our first one that we've got from the audience. We've got a few good ones that have come through.
Welcome to the VA IT.
I'll go ahead and read them since we do this for 508 compliance. ADA requirements are so broad that they end up being little help to those with disabilities. Will the VA strive to focus on usability rather than compliance of regulations? I don't know who wants to take that one.
Sure, I'll take this one. So this is something that's interesting that I've seen just in the last year of big changes within the VA. So one of the things that we've really done is look beyond 508, right? We can say something is compliant, but is it really usable? And that's something that we're really taking to heart. And I'm thinking of one software that we recently went through, and senior leadership was more concerned about the usability than they were about the actual regulations and the compliance of it. So it really is, right? We are looking for the best match, right? And making sure that things are usable, because if it's not usable, then what's the point, right? I think that's something that's often missed. And so thank you so much for the question, because to me, that's something I definitely wanted to share today is the usability aspect of it is so important that we really are focusing on just beyond 508, right? It's not just 508 requirements, right? Because you can have something meet the requirements and still be painful to use. So that's something that we're definitely looking forward to and making sure that we have that. So absolutely, the VA is well committed to making sure. And I can tell you, senior leadership, it's much easier for me to sell that something is unusable, where everyone understands and they can see that, vice necessarily 508 compliant.
So one thing I'd love to add to that is we are really striving to, identify and find VA staff that are willing to test and try new software, new applications, before they go live, to Chet's point, to ensure, a really great customer experience. That's part of engineering excellence, that we are delighting our customer. And so again, when we have a call for volunteers, we hope that we get folks to raise their hand and want to jump in and be part of our tester user groups, as well as the VA looks to, enhance and roll out new applications.
I can tell you that the comms team is looking to build some of that base too. So we'll certainly, especially if you're a VA employee and a veteran, we're going to aggregate that and test out app features too. So more to come there. Got time for a couple more. This one's sort of long and that we might have to put to our people science folks. But this question says, if Lou, you can pull it up to the screen here. I contracted COVID-19 in my office in March 2020, then long COVID. ADA has stated this as a disability. As a non-veteran, I've been turned down for VA hospital use and VA research. This has pushed my retirement date. I'm losing some advantage of the OIT pay raise. Thoughts? Is that a concern of 508 office or something that if they...
I agree with you. I think that this would be a great question directed at our people science office for sure.
Right. Because really we're focused on, accessibility of information and communications technology, but absolutely Office of People Science can definitely weigh in on this one.
Get through your people science office, you can email me directly and I'll contact you or connect you there. And we have time for one more. 508 compliance, is a requirement for an ATO, but seems to get overlooked as ATOs are awarded. Does the 508 office conduct follow-up?
I would love to take this one first, Chet. So this is an area and a space within the ATOs that we're looking to partner with, again, to have these questions and these reviews of new application systems before they go live. And we do follow-up. So, we conduct assessments, audits, identify any concerns, issues, or defects. And we really want to ensure that we have good partnerships so that we can clear any defects, any concerns before these systems, go live. But we definitely have more work to do in this space. So there are tons of applications that are out in the VA that are being utilized, and new ones that are in the queue, getting ready to have their review. So yes, this is a space that we are trying to get more rigorous in for sure.
All right, and to add on what Merissa had mentioned, something that we developed in-house at the VA is really a tool to help us track these defects, right? And make it aware, when anyone at the VA can go in and look and see what software defects are out there. So we are putting it out there. Everything's going to be transparent, and folks can go in and see where in the process those defects are of getting fixed and remediated. So absolutely, we're looking at every avenue possible to ensure 508 compliance is adhered to. There's a new regime in town, and we are doing some great things here, and I'm so excited to be part of the 508 team. I really am.
All right, what a great note to end on there. We're very excited to have you guys come on Talking Tech, because we just want to make sure that people know that it's a commitment up front. That's something we think of at the very beginning. And to lead as the top IT group in federal government, that's the only way to get there. So Chet, Merissa, appreciate you so much for joining. To Sean, Lou, James, and the team here in the studio, thanks again. And most importantly, thanks to all of you who tuned in. At the end of the month, we're going to be looking at doing a Cybersecurity Awareness Month Talking Tech. We got a few things in the docket that we're excited about coming up. If you have any suggestions on things that you would want to hear about on this show, drop it in the chat, send us a message, and we would love to do that. Without any further ado, that's it. All we have time for today. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Be well.